Hello everybody. Just want to thank everybody for joining me for my live today. I'm here to help show you or to demonstrate how I'm making my robin egg cake. So the cake I'm making today I was tagged in this cake from Chef Dedra Blunt. She tagged me in it. She said, "Hey Johnna, can you show us how to, maybe do a class on how to make this cake?" But little did she know that this cake is based off of one of my favorite Easter candies, which is robin egg malted candy balls. And they're like Whoppers, but they're chocolate coated and they got a candy coating on the outside of the chocolate, and they only come out around Easter time, these particular ones. So I went to the site and I looked at the cake that she tagged me in, and I tested out that recipe, but it didn't work at all. The cake tasted like cornbread. It wasn't really good. So I decided to do my own twist on the cake. So I took one of my favorite vanilla cake recipes and I altered it, and I added malt powder and just a little bit of coconut flavoring to it to make like a coconut cake. Because when I think of Easter, I think of coconut cake. And I remember my grandma always making a coconut cake, especially around Easter time. So I am going to go ahead and start making that cake. And if y'all have any questions or anything you want to ask me as I go, just let me know and I'll answer your questions as I go. But if we don't have any questions yet, any questions? First let me introduce you to my background people. I have my husband, he's my director. He's in the back switching the cameras and stuff to get different angles. And then I have my daughter, my middle child, Kiana. She's gonna be reading off any questions if y'all have any questions for me as we go. So if we don't have no questions yet, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So this cake is really simple. The ingredients, we're gonna start with our flour and our sugar first. And it just has, when I say it's really simple, it's really quick and easy to come together. So I have my flour, and then I have my baking powder. This is 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder that's gonna go in. And then in this one I have my baking soda. So I have a teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. The salt was so small that I just went ahead and throw it in here. And then I have my malted milk powder. Malted milk powder is found in a regular grocery store. Is right near the chocolate syrup for drinks and stuff, the Hershey syrups and stuff. They make a malted milk powder. So I am gonna sift these ingredients right into my mixing bowl. And then I'm gonna add my sugar. So I'm just gonna sift a little bit at a time because it's gonna go everywhere. And I'm not sifting my sugar in only because this sifter is a finer mesh. So sometimes all my sugar doesn't get through it that should be in there. So I'm just gonna add that sugar last without this. But see, all these little particles, the big chunks that's not gonna go through is gonna stay right there. And the importance of sifting, there's an importance for sifting, is to kind of aerate my flour just to make sure I get a lot of lift and rise and have a nice texture with it. So now I'm going to add in my 1.5 cups of sugar. And just with my whisk, I'm going to just whisk my sugar in and kind of mix all my ingredients up so they're all distributed evenly. Then I am using my 5-quart stand mixer today, and I'm going to use my paddle attachment. So I'm going to hook my paddle attachment in, and that is my dry ingredients. So now I'm going to work on my wet ingredients. My wet ingredients is 3 egg whites, a 1/2 cup of milk, and then 2/3 cup or 6 ounces of butter melted. And when we're adding the butter, I'm gonna make sure that my butter is melted and cooled back down to room temperature, and that my egg whites and my milk and my sour cream, which I'm gonna add next, is all room temperature as well. If not, it will the butter will start to solidify and get a little solid in the mixture. It won't hurt it, but it's best if it's still all the same temperature. It'll all kind of even out at the end once we mix everything together. So I'm gonna add my sour cream. And I'm also gonna add my flavoring. So I'm gonna add vanilla extract. This vanilla extract is gonna look a little different from what you're used to seeing. I make my own vanilla extract because vanilla extract got really, really expensive like a year ago, and it's still expensive now. So I went ahead and took some old beans that I had, and I added, this one is made with bourbon. So I took bourbon and vanilla beans, and I let it soak for, you gotta let it soak for at least 4 to 6 weeks first, and then it's extract, and it smells so good, y'all. It smells really, really good. So I add a teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm gonna add coconut extract because I want that hint of coconut to be in my cake. I'm only gonna add a half a teaspoon. You can add a full teaspoon if you want it to be a stronger coconut flavor. I just want it to be a hint, just like just present there in the background. So I'm just gonna add that. Now I'm gonna mix this together. Doesn't have to be super mixed. Just want to make sure that you started breaking up the egg whites and mixing everything together. And that is good enough. So I'm gonna cut on my mixer, and I'm gonna add half of my wet to my dries. So I'm only adding half because I want this to get smooth and lump-free before I add the rest of my mixture. If I add it all, it's gonna get a whole lot of lumps in it. And I want it to be very nice and smooth. So that is how smooth I want it to look. I'm gonna stop, scrape my bowl down. Oh, and I really smell that malt flavor, that malt powder. Exactly what I'm looking for. And then I'm gonna add the rest of my liquid, or my wets. Get all that in there. I believe in scraping every last drop out of the bowl. And we'll put our mixer back on. Now I'm gonna mix this for no more than a minute. So hopefully I can get all this mixed in a minute. So a minute or a minute and 30 seconds. I don't want to over mix this because I don't want my cake to be really tough or really dense. I just want it to be really nice and moist. So I don't want to overwork my gluten that's in it. So and I'm gonna stop this about halfway through my minute here and scrape it down again just to make sure I got everything mixed in there, or everything off the bottom. Because with these stand mixers, it's got a little knot at the bottom of it, so it likes to kind of settle, all the flour likes to settle there. So for this last minute here, or last 30 seconds, I'm just gonna turn it up to the speed 2 on my mixer, just until I get a nice smooth batter. That is really nice and pretty and nice and smooth. So I'm gonna go ahead, take it off the stand mixer. I'm gonna scrape off my paddle attachment. Now, this cake recipe as it is enough to perfectly fit in 2 6-inch round cake pans. So since we're all kind of shut in here for Easter and we're not supposed to have a big family dinner or big gatherings, this 6-inch cake is plenty of cake for me and my family. So I have a family of 6. The 6-inch cake will feed 10 people. So this is plenty of cake. So this is why I made this recipe like this, so it's good enough to make a small one. But if you want to, you can double the recipe and you get 2 8-inches, or you can triple the recipe and get 2 6-inches. So I am going to do just 2 6-inches. I could do 3 and do a smaller amount of batter in it to have 3 layers of cake. But I'm going to go ahead and do 2, and then I'm going to cut those layers in half, so I'll end up having 4 layers of cake. Now, when I bake my cakes, I use something called bake even strips. These are strips that you can buy at, I think Walmart has them, but I definitely know Michael's has them in the cake decorating sections. These help your cake bake up really nice and even. So this is my little trick for a nice even cake. So the bake even strips plus a really good pan. So you want a really good cake pan that's made of anodized steel, I think that's what it's called. But the cake pan and the strips, your cake will come out so even you won't even need to level it when you're finished. And that's what I really like about it. It saves on cake waste, and it's less cake scraps that I have to eat to, you know, help work on my girlish figure. So got those set up. Now I'm just going to split this cake batter between these two. And that batter is really nice and smooth, y'all. Really smooth. No lumps whatsoever. I don't got no butter lumps or anything. So everything was the perfect room temperature. And again, I'm scraping the hell out of these bowls because I believe in scraping all my product and my ingredients out of the bowl. All right, I'm going to put switch it over here and put a little more batter in this one. So I'm going to do just a little tap, level out my pans, get any bubbles or anything from the top. And now we're going to go right to the oven. I have my oven was preheating at 325 degrees. And we're going to bake these for 30 to 45 minutes. If I didn't have the bake even strips on, it would take about 30 minutes to bake, but because I have them on, it's going to take a little bit longer. So it's going to be about 45 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and set my timer and let those bake. I'm going to go ahead and wipe down my station, and then I'm going to toast the coconut that's going to go on it, and then we're going to make the icing. So one quick second. All right, wipe down my station, sanitize it. We were dealing with some raw egg product. All right. All right, so while I am getting set up to make the icing, I want to tell you some exciting things that are going to be happening with Impresional Sweets. So this year, Impresional Sweets is turning 13, and we're turning 13 tomorrow. So yay, we're a teenager. So we're finally a teenager. We're 13, and I just got a lot of great things, great creative things that are going to be in store. Some specials I'm going to be running, and I want y'all to stay tuned. If you're up here, I'm pretty sure you like my page. Share my page so other people can like my page, because we're going to have a lot of great specials going on. And I'm just excited to have been in business this long. 13 years. Wow. So for the icing, all right, so for the icing is a simple American, well, if you want to call it simple, it's American buttercream, which means it's butter or fat, powdered sugar, and some type of flavoring or liquid. So the recipe that I posted calls for all butter, but I am doing what I traditionally do is I do a buttercream that has half shortening, half butter. So it calls for a pound of butter, so I split that in half, and I'm doing 8 ounces of shortening. This is high ratio shortening, so it's specifically for making icing. And then I'm going to add 8 ounces of butter. And then I have 2 pounds of powdered sugar and a teaspoon of salt, which is already in the bowl with the shortening. And then to flavor it, I'm using cream of coconut. So cream of coconut is found, I think you can get it in the Hispanic section or the ethnic food section in a can or you can go to the drink section and it comes in a little squeeze bottle. So that's why I get mine from a squeeze bottle, because we're always making pina coladas or something that has the cream of coconut in it around here. And then I have milk, a teaspoon of milk or a tablespoon of milk if you need it. If I was doing this all butter, it would be nice and a loose icing, and then I wouldn't need to add the milk. But since I'm adding the shortening, I'm losing some of that moisture or that milk fat that's already in the butter. So I'm going to end up having to have to add some of the milk, but I'm just going to do it a little bit at a time until it's the consistency I want it. So I'm going to start by starting mixing with my shortening in the bowl. And then I'm going to add my 2 sticks or 8 ounces of butter. Second stick of butter. And I'm just going to turn this up a little bit. It's going to be a little loud, just to make sure I get all my butter and my shortening. That's a nice, smooth, creamy texture. I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to scrape down the bowl. And now I'm going to add my cream of coconut. And I'm also going to go ahead and add a teaspoon of coconut extract. And this coconut extract, Watkins, is one of my favorite ones. It's imitation coconut extract, but if you've ever had, if you ever were on students or ever had a class with me, you kind of know how I feel about imitation flavorings. So if it's imitation vanilla or anything else, I'm like totally against it. But for some reason, coconut is the pure coconut extract doesn't taste like coconut to me, and the imitation one is the only one that tastes like coconut to me. So it's kind of strange, but that's one of my favorite flavorings. And flavorings, when it comes to flavoring, that is the only thing you don't have to be exact in science about when it comes to baking, because flavorings taste. So if you want more coconut extract, you can put more coconut extract in there. But for me, that's going to be good, and it kind of pairs with that creamy cream of coconut that's already in there. So I am going to turn it down to stir, and I'm going to add half of my powdered sugar. And this is 2 pounds powdered sugar. So I'm going to add about 1 pound, very slowly. Oh, that coconut smell is coming right through. Let that mix in. Then I'm going to scrape down my bowl after it's mixed in. Another thing, if you don't have a stand mixer, and you just have a hand mixer, both the cake recipe and the icing recipe can be made with the hand mixer. The icing, I like my icing a little on the stiffer side and the sweet side. So the icing may give your hand mixer, you gotta have a really good hand mixer, because it may give your hand mixer a little challenge, but it'll still work. And for the cake recipe, it's great for a hand mixer if you don't want to whip out your whole mixer, or you can just mix it by hand for the cake recipe. But you saw how easy that was, and it's really easy to make icing from scratch as well. So now I'm gonna slowly add the rest of my powdered sugar. And after I add all this, if it's too thick, then I'm going to add some milk, a teaspoon of milk at a time, until it reaches the thickness that I want. Oh, that's powdered sugar in there. Grace was like, oh, give me some more liquid. So I'm going to put a teaspoon of milk in at a time. And I already know I'm going to need about a whole tablespoon, so that's 3 teaspoons. Maybe a little bit more. I'm going to stop and check it. So we're still a little on the thick side. So I'm going to add about 1 more teaspoon of milk. And then we're going to talk about color. What color we're going to color our icing. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit too, just to start getting it fluffy like. I really like this consistency, so that is all the milk I'm going to add. Now, for coloring our icing, I'm going to color it, since it's a robin egg cake, I'm going to try to get it as close to a robin eggshell. And robin eggshell is like a, almost kind of like a sky blue or Tiffany blue color. So that's another reason why I went with the half butter and the half shortening. Not just for that buttery taste, it's going to give us that buttery taste as well, but the royal blue gel paste is what I'm going to use to color it. I'm just going to put like a drop of the royal blue paste in there, and it's going to mix in with that yellow tint, and it's going to give it this really pretty robin eggshell blue. But I would definitely invest in a good gel color to do this, and not the liquid kind that you can get at the grocery store, but you can buy gel paste at Walmart too, because it's not going to change the consistency of my icing. It's going to keep it the nice semi-stiff consistency. Now I'm just going to turn it up to get that color mixing in there. And then of course we got to stop and spray down to redistribute the icing and the color so they can go through evenly. Now the thing about these mixers is that sometimes it doesn't mix all the icing evenly, and that's fine, because as soon as I pull it off the bowl, I'll do more scraping and stirring to get all the color mixed in there. But see, look at that. That is a pretty robin eggshell color. And that is it. Just that quick and easy. Our buttercream icing is done and ready to go on the cake. So, Kiki, who do we have with us that I can say hi to?
But I know Jessica Banks said hey.
Hey, Jessica.
And Andrea Rex.
All right. So, all right. So now I'm just going to give the icing a stir just to get all my blue in there. Mixed in, and I'm going to do you know my piping bags are? All right, so I'm going to go grab the cake. So we made a cake here today. I made a cake in front of you. But I already have another cake, of course, baked, because I knew that one wasn't going to be done in time. So I'm going to go grab that cake, and then we'll get ready to ice. So I'm set this right here so I have space for my ice in my cake. Put this up here. All right, I'm back. Gotta get my piping bag ready for what we're doing. Lesson. So, I have my cakes. For this, once your cakes come out, I'm actually gonna check on these since we've been at this for a little bit. So lights are good for ovens, so that way I don't have to open the oven and to let all the heat out that's in there, and I don't want to interrupt my cakes. So they got a good long ways to go, so I'm gonna let those keep going. When they do get ready, what you're gonna do is gonna let them cool in the pan for 10 minutes, and then you're gonna flip them out of the pan and let them cool the rest of the way. When I decorate cakes or decorate these cakes, I always make sure they're cold or they're chilled when I decorate, especially since I'm going to be cutting them in half. So, or cutting them, or torching them is what we call them, pastry chefs call them. So we're going to cut them in half. But this is what I wanted to show you. So this, if you see how even that is, this is right out of the pan. So in level, so with those baked even strips, these cakes bake up nice and level. I don't even have to trim this off. I will only trim it if I wanted to open up the crumb to put like a simple syrup on it. But I'm not going to. We're just going to cut these right in half. Can you hand me my serrated knife? It's right down there. Yeah, I got it. Thank you, ma'am. All right, so torting our cakes are cutting them in half horizontally. I am going to show you how I do it. Pick a cake that's going to be our bottom. I'm going to do it with a knife. So they have little cake cutters that you can use. I know Wilton makes one that has a wire on it. Now I've tried that wire, especially when I first started out, so that's like 13 years ago. And it never works for me, never ever. I always either rip my cake to shreds, it doesn't work. So I've practiced and trained myself to do it with a regular serrated knife. It's not hard, practice makes perfect. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna find where I wanna cut this cake in half. So I'm gonna find that and kind of just saw in my blade until it's all the way in. I'm gonna lock my elbow to the side of my waist, and I'm gonna turn the cake and not the knife. So the knife is gonna stay still, and I'm gonna push the knife in towards the middle as I'm turning, and I'm just gonna turn the cake. Turn the cake, and then you're gonna end up right where you started at if you kept your knife nice and straight, and it slides right on off. And now I have a nice, perfectly level cake. So I'm gonna do that to both of these tiers, or both of these layers. So again, finding my halfway point or where I wanna cut it, sawing in, locking my elbow, keeping my knife nice and parallel to my cake, turning the cake, not my knife, until I end up right back where I started from. And just that easy. Now my students told me I make that look real easy, so no apologies, but I apologize. So now we're gonna get the decorating. So I am using 2 spatulas, my small offset spatula and my straight spatula. And this straight spatula, I like it because it's nice and stiff. It doesn't have a lot of give in it. Sometimes they make them really a lot of give, and that can really mess up how you keep your icing straight on it. So I'm going to use this when I get to the sides, and I'm going to use this on the top. So I'm going to take my robin egg colored icing and put a little bit on my board. So I got a 10-inch cake board here. And this is a nice stiff decorative board. You can use a regular board, or you can use a plate. If you're at home with your family, you just have a plate to do this with. Just use a plate. Pick which cake is going to be my bottom, which is going to be this cake. I'm going to center that on my board. And then now I'm going to add my buttercream. So like I said before, this is American style buttercream or decorator's buttercream. So it's pretty sweet, and I like a sweet, so I have a little sweet tooth, or else I wouldn't be doing what I do. So you can put anywhere from 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch if you really don't like that much icing I like icing, so I'm gonna do a 1/4 inch because I have 3 more layers of icing that's gonna go on this cake. So I'm just gonna do a 1/4 inch icing up here. And I'm just gonna spread it out. When I spread it out, I'm not going to bring it all the way to the edge. I'm just going to bring it just close enough. It's about 1/8 to a 1/4 inch away from the edge. And I'm gonna smooth this out to make sure that it's nice and level. So level cake, level icing gives you a level finished cake. So I'm gonna add my layer. And now I'm gonna add my next layer of icing. No questions yet? No questions? No questions? So next layer, again, I'm doing a 1/4 inch of this yummy buttercream. Again, not going all the way over the edge, just making sure it's nice and level. Then I'm gonna add my next layer. So by the time we finish, we're gonna have 3 layers of icing and 4 layers of cake. I love a tall cake. I just love a tall cake. I don't like a little short squatty cake, so that's why I did it this way. But if you wanted to stop after 3 layers, you could, and you could, bake your cake in 3 pans instead of doing the 2 pans and then cutting them in half. If you just wanted to go just 3 layers, or you can just stop here and eat the extra layer. But we're gonna keep going because we like a tall cake in this house, right, y'all?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say I like my cake like I like my men tall. Yes, or my man. I only have one. Didn't mean to make that pull. And now we're finishing up our top layer. Look at that. Look at the height of that, y'all. Love it. I love it. So now I'm going to make sure that it's all nice and even, or all the layers are lined up. And then I'm just going to give it a nice little press there, just to make sure everything's sealed. And then we're going to ice the whole cake. So while I'm icing the cake, although I told you I like to decorate a cold cake, when I go to eat this cake, because it's 1, made from scratch, 2, it has butter in it. Butter, when you try to eat a cake that's made with butter cold, is going to taste dry and feel really hard. So you have to let this cake come to room temperature before you serve it. That way it all the butter gets nice and soft in it, and everything else kind of warms up to the room, and it's a really nice mouthfeel that way. So for my icing, the way I ice my cakes is some people do what's called a crumb coat. So I'll put a really thin layer of icing up there, and then I'll pop it back in the refrigerator for 10 to 15 minutes. Then I'll bring it back out, and then I'll finish a thicker coat of icing on it. I don't like to do that. I like to put all my icing up there and get it thick and coat it at one time. So I'll put a big glob of icing on, and then I'm going to smooth this out and bring it down the sides, and then build up the rest of the icing.
Ruth Whitehurst Sandefire said she's loving the show.
Oh, thank you, Ruth. So now I have my big glob of icing up here, and I'm just going to work on smoothing it out. And a turntable definitely helps. So make sure if you're going to do this, you really want to get you a nice turntable or a Lazy Susan. I've seen people use Lazy Susans. So again, I like a thick layer of icing. I'm going to make it just a little thinner of icing because I have some people who I'm going to serve this cake to that don't like that much icing. So I'm going to thin this out. And the way I'm going to take this icing, most of this icing off, I'm going to take my offset, take the tip of it and put it in the center of my cake. And then I'm going to lay the icing, my offset down. Then I'm going to angle my spatula, and then I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm going to rotate it. And by rotating, I'm pulling off layers of icing. So that way I know how much I am. And I'm also smoothing out my cake icing as well. So as I'm doing that, and I'm gliding my spatula off. Now, we don't have to be too perfect with this, with how smooth it is. One, if you're doing it at home and you haven't done this often, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be very kind of messy or rustic because we're going to add coconut to this later. So with the icing that's there, I'm going to push this down.
Alright, Jessica Banks said, "Oh man, I wish I would have gotten to take your cake class at Stratford.
Aww.
It looks fun."
Thank you. I know it's sad. But I will be offering cake classes soon. I have to get a schedule for this year, and of course we're all shut in right now. So I have to, the ones I did have on the books, we got to reschedule. So when we get out of this quarantine or shut-in lockdown, then I'll definitely put some more. That's also we got new exciting things coming for this year, this 13th year of Impresional Sweets. So now I got my top smooth and the icing pushed down the sides. I'm going to just continue to add more icing on the sides. So for this, I switched to my bigger spatula because it's bigger and I can put more icing up there and I can move a little faster. So y'all won't be sitting here, you know, for 10 minutes watching me just ice a cake. So going to put a lot of icing up here. So the trick is the more icing I put up there, the less it's going to want to pull off any crumbs of cake. So therefore, I don't have to do a crumb coat because I'm putting so much icing up there. But we're going to take the bench scraper or icing smoother and I'm going to smooth it all out and it's going to take some of the icing off.
Dasha said, "Love your kitchen. I'm curious, how do you pick which piece is the bottom layer?"
For the bottom layer, so usually I'll do, my cakes come out pretty even, so usually I'll take the part that has the top layer that's a little bit, if you try to make it so you can understand, that it's kind of sticky but it's flat, so that bottom will stick to the bottom of the board. So and then usually like my most messed up piece of cake, because sometimes the cakes don't always come out even and pretty, so I usually put that most messed up one that doesn't have a tight crumb on the bottom. And thank you. We're working on the kitchen, but I'm liking what I've done so far. But it's a work in process. I realize that being a homeowner, that you want to take on so many projects at one time, and then you realize once you start it that you really got to take it one at a time. So this is one that my husband and I are working on. All right, and because I'm using my bigger spatula, it's taking me less time to ice it, and I am almost finished. This part, so this last part, and I always like to point out to my students, is that for this top part of this icing, we're gonna bring it so that it comes above the top. That's gonna help me get a nice sharp corner or sharp edge on my cake. And I love a cake with sharp edges. I don't really like the soft edges. I like them to be really nice and sharp and pronounced. So a trick of doing that is bringing my icing above my cake. When I ice the sides here. Oops. So. Oh, my bench scraper. Up and down. Should be over there somewhere. Y'all see the bench scraper? 1 second, I lost my bench scraper. What was that? Look at me, the cake. Cake from one side. All right, gotta find my bench scraper. Then I'll clean this off. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead. I've loaded my piping bag. Let me wipe my hands off, because decorating cakes is a messy deal. Thank you, ma'am. Bench scraper, yay! Wipe my hands off. I'm gonna load I got my piping bag here. This is an 18-inch piping bag, and I'm using what's called a round tip, so it's just a circle. This is an 806. I'm gonna go ahead and put some of my icing in the piping bag for when we're decorating our cake. And we just need a little bit. You can decorate this in so many different ways. So I'm only gonna show you one way. I might show you two, depends on if we have time. So I got my bench scraper, and I'm just gonna, and I like the bench scraper that doesn't have the plastic thing on it. That way it can sit nice and level, and I don't have to worry about having to keep it level. So I'm gonna sit it level on my cake board here, and I'm going to press it just a little bit into the cake, and then I'm gonna angle it, and then very smooth glide. I'm just going to turn my turntable, and then scrape off the excess icing that I want. And as I'm scraping, it's gonna get smoother and smoother. Now, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I'm gonna want this to be really nice and smooth, but again, you don't have to have it super smooth. You know, it's your cake. You put your little twist on it when you're making it for your family. So again, and this also takes off, if it's too much icing, this is where you can now take off some of that icing. Or you can add more. So I have a little spot right here. I don't know if y'all can see that, but I can see my cake through my icing, and I don't like to see my cake through my icing. I like it to be all icing or completely covered. So I'm gonna just go back and just focus right here on this spot to add more icing there. And I'm gonna do it all the way up. And then we're gonna blend that in. Gotta really scrape my bowl. Get all of my buttercream out. So I'm gonna add all that. And it looks a little rough, but we're gonna go in with the scraper to smooth everything out. And just like that, I have added icing. I'm gonna focus just on this spot right here. I'll keep my roundness. My smaller spatula here. Still filling in the spot to make it look very smooth so you can't see where I added the extra buttercream. And there, just like that. I'm all smooth and I don't see cake through my icing, so I know that it's nice and covered. One more time and then I'm gonna stop. I told you I'm a perfectionist. I will be here all day smoothing this cake if I don't tell myself to stop. Stop. I'm stopping now. All right, so I smell cake. So I'm gonna check my oven again. My cake's in the oven. It's been about 30 minutes. And again, cake light, because I don't want to open it up to let the heat out. It has, I can still tell that it's a bit wet on the top. So I'm gonna let it keep baking the rest of the 14 minutes that it's got left. But one of the tricks I tell my students is that when you start smelling cake, that means your cake is either done or it's close to being done. So now I'm gonna take off this top layer, the layer that the part of the cake, the part of icing that's going above the cake. And there's two ways that you can do this. So you can either come from the back of the cake like this and push it in towards the center, or my preferred way, but it all depends on what you're comfortable with, is I push my cake in. So I come from behind it or from closer to my body, and I push my icing in towards the center, and it usually sticks to my spatula, and then I can just push it right off, and it's going to give me a nice sharp edge there. But again, with this cake, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have sharp edges. You can have rounder edges if you want. All depends on your cake needs or your cake style. I feel like I'm going to the side around the table. And then from here, just to smooth it out, I'm just going to come right just across the top and just come back in and smooth out where I pull the icing off for those spots, but I'm always going from the outside into the center. I don't want to go straight across or else I'll mess up my side that I was working on. And just like that, we're finished. Now our cake's nice and iced. So for the next part, it's if you use the recipe that has all butter in the icing, then you're going to want your cake to chill for about 10 minutes before you go on to decorating it the next part. If you use the all shortening or half shortening, you don't have to let it chill, but I'm going to let it chill just for 10 minutes. And of course I have another cake ready to go. So we're gonna let that one chill for 10 minutes. So she's gonna bring me the other cake. And I am gonna put this icing away. And then we're gonna get into decorating the cake. So clear all this stuff out the way. So I already have a cake that was chilling, so it's nice and firm, nice and cold, nice and set up for me. And to decorate, I'm going to use my piping bag, and then these are my robin eggs. So they come in regular size and they come in mini. I already brought the regular size when I found out that they had mini ones, and the mini ones are so cute. They're like this little, and it'll be really good to go on the cake because this one, you know, when you eat it, you can tell it's really big, but if you have the little small ones, they're really pretty. And to do the speckle part, that's going to make it, so if you can look at the egg, you'll see that it has little speckles on it, and a robin egg has speckles as well. We are going to, can you give me a paintbrush? I totally forgot my paintbrush. It's in the cake room. Oh, it's right here. Ooh, there it goes. See it? In the dish tray. Yep. So we're going to use a paintbrush, and we're gonna spackle like chocolate onto it. So what I'm using to make that kind of splatter is I'm using cocoa powder, and you can use an extract, vanilla extract or lemon extract, but like I told you, vanilla extract is expensive, so I'm gonna use vodka. This is a high proof vodka, and if you don't use alcohol, then you can use extract. But what it's gonna do is it's gonna evaporate. It's gonna turn this into paint, and it's gonna evaporate and dry. Now, it's pure cocoa powder, so it doesn't taste really good, so don't lick it. But you won't taste it because the sweet sugar, you won't taste it when you bite into it on a thing. So I'm going to put, it's about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon, but I keep mine in a little dropper. So it's about 4 of these drops, and I'm going to mix it in. It's a really small spatula. Till I create a like a really wet paint. So wetter than acrylics. I don't know if you ever painted at a paint party and you see the acrylics and they're kind of stiff. This is going to be like watercolory. So it's about a teaspoon, which is going to take me a few pumps to get in there. There we go. So now I have it nice and splattery. So this is going to get messy quickly. So yay, I wore a white chef coat to this, but hopefully I won't get nothing on me to do it. So then I'm gonna get a little bit looser. And now we're gonna use a paintbrush. And if you've ever done any splattering, whatever splatter technique you use will work. You can do the splatter it, shake it, and it's not really, so you can do the splatter, shake, or you can do the spray. So we're gonna spray it. I'm gonna do a little bit of both. Really trying not to get dirty. I don't know if you can get in close to see that. You want me to make it close to the camera? So it's making our robin egg, our robin splatter to get the little dots.
Dasha said that's a very cool idea.
Thank you. So I'm just going to splatter this all around. Like I told you, it's going to get real messy. But, you know, cake is messy. Tell people cutting cake, making cake, it's all messy. It's like playing with your food, kind of. Woo. So I even messed up with my paintbrush hit it. But that's all right because it looks like splatter. So we're just going to keep going. I'm going to get some on the top. And then we're going to finish it. I feel like it got on my face. It's all right. All right. Again, you can be here all day doing this, so I'm gonna call it quits. Quick, stop, sit. To the side. so now we're gonna add our nest, our robin eggs. I'm so excited. It's gonna look so cute, so cute. So, I have toasted coconut here. So I've already toasted the coconut. It's just a half a cup of coconut. Put it on a sheet tray. 5 to 10 minutes. You cannot walk away from your coconut when you're toasting. If you walk away, you'll burn it real fast. So you want to kind of stay close. So 325 on a sheet tray, 5 minutes. So I'm gonna take my piping bag and I'm gonna pipe just a ring right here in the center. If you have a problem creating a circle or staying in a circle, what you can do, take my bowl here, turn it upside down, mark your cake. You can use a cookie cutter or you can use a small bowl. Mark your cake where you want your circle to go, and then holding my bag at a 45-degree angle, I'm gonna just let the icing fall out of the bag.
Tredasia said, "Hey chef."
Hey Tredasia. Hey Daisy. So just making a ring, and I'm just gonna smooth out a little bit. Then I'm gonna take my coconut and sprinkle it right on top of that ring. So now it's gonna look like a little bird nest. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. This is our little nest. And I'm gonna try to cover, I'm pushing it into the icing to kind of cover it up so you can't really tell. The icing just gives it some foundation so it can look like a nest, so you don't have like a big giant glob of a coconut up there. And it keeps it in place too, so it won't move when we put our eggs in our nest. So I'm just going back, making sure I put in all the coconut to cover up my little ring. So around the bottom of the cake, I'm just going to pipe a quick little border with my round tip. Not even gonna have to make it nice and perfect. I'm just gonna pipe a little border because I'm gonna end up covering that bottom of coconut too. So this is just almost like a shell border, but it's with the round tip. So just the border, just finish that. And then around the bottom, I'm gonna put coconut there as well. And you see the border gives something for my coconut to hold on to the cake so that it doesn't glide around everywhere. If you were taking this to somebody, if you was making this for grandma or somebody, you want to take it to them, when you put it in a box, your coconut not gonna go nowhere because it's stuck to your icing on your border. And almost finished. So now we have our coconut to look like our nest all on our cake. Now we get to add our eggs. So we're gonna add our robin eggs. So at this point, I like to just, I like to work in odd numbers because odd numbers draw your eye in. So we're gonna put about 5 robin eggs up here. And I'm just gonna move around. I like the blue one since this is nice blue. But just 5 little eggs in our nest. Isn't that so cute? And then I'm gonna take little eggs and just randomly place them.
Grandma Betty said, "Good afternoon, sweetheart."
Hello, Grandma Betty, or Miss Betty. And I'm just gonna place my little random eggs here. Isn't that just cute, y'all? This is just so cute. And there we go. That's our finished robin egg cake. It is a coconut malted cake with sweet coconut buttercream. That's very pretty. Very, very pretty. All right, so if there's any questions, I'll take questions. I'm gonna get a knife and we're gonna slice this bad boy so you can see what it looks like inside with the layers.
Grandma's one.
Oh, the vet says so cute and pink.
Hey, Devette, thank you. And it's real easy to make. I'm telling y'all, it's real easy. Y'all saw how quickly I put it together. So I already posted the recipe on my page. So print it out and make it. So I'm gonna get a knife. We're gonna slice this cake so you can see how pretty it looks on the inside.
Dash just said so cute.
Alrighty.
Featherston Wanda said, "Can we see it up close?"
How you want it? Before I cut it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take it over to it. So can y'all see it?
Spin it around.
And then the top without dropping it. Y'all got it?
Yeah.
All right. Give me a plate.
More like a regular one or a really fancy one?
Really fancy one.
How was that a question?
Oh, hold on. Need a fork. Because I'm going to taste this cake. It's really delicious.
Featherston Wanda said, "Beautiful."
Thank y'all. All right. Try not to drop it. All right. So that's what the 4 layers look like. Isn't that beautiful? Oh. That's my oven too. All right, so now my oven went off. I'm actually gonna open the oven this time to check it. Steam in the face. So it's still a little wobbly, so I'm gonna give it 5 more minutes. And start. All right, that is the cake, y'all. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Yes.
the vet said, "I have a question. Are you still accepting orders?"
Yes, I am still accepting orders, and I'm also throwing in delivery. So if you don't want to come out and get it, so I'm throwing in free delivery, so you don't have to pay for delivery. So I'm taking orders now, and we can do a contactless delivery as well. So I am still taking orders through this time.
And Robert said, "Yes, it is."
Yes. All right, y'all. Oh, it was really good, y'all. Y'all know I love cake. It's moist, malty, coconutty.
45.
This is a hit. I'm telling you. Y'all gotta try this cake. It's delicious. So again, thank y'all for joining me on this live. I think this is like my first demo on my page that I've done, and just stay tuned. I'm gonna be doing a lot of great things, more demos, more ways, and more specials coming up. Especially I know I have a graduation special coming up, because I know people can't get out of their house for graduation. So I got a really nice thing coming up for graduation cakes and to celebrate in your house. And any more questions? This was fun. I had fun. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll take the time during this time that we're shut in and bake with your family and make sweet memories. So this was definitely a sweet memory for me, and I hope that you'll make sweet memories with your family. Any more questions? And don't forget, so you're already on my Facebook page, so follow us if you haven't. Share it to follow, and don't forget to also like my Instagram page as well. And the website. Check out my website. It's getting ready to have wonderful updates coming up to it, and we're going to be adding in online ordering as well. So I'll be updating that within a week or so that you'll be able to order online.
Chef W is up here.
Hey, Chef Dub or T Dub. Any more questions? We good?